As we go to the fourth inning, let's make a change in the outfield. Michael Conforto in to play left field. Alejandro De Aza moves to center field, and that's because Justin Ruggiano appeared to injure himself running down to first base.
Right by the bag. Right there, a grimace.
So Terry Collins has to make another change in his outfield, which is a source of a lot of discussion today. And we have the perfect guy to talk about the Mets outfield and other things. Sandy Alderson, Mets general manager, joining us in the booth. Sandy, we were going to first congratulate you on making the trade today for Jay Bruce, but let's talk about first another injury. You guys have to feel incredibly snake bit with what's been going on lately.
Seems like it's been a daily occurrence, and somebody even showing up from out of town bit by the bug. But the glut of outfielders we had about an hour ago just got to be less of a glut.
Let's talk about Jay Bruce. You pick up a guy who's leading the league in RBIs. You said we need offense. That's the most important consideration. Why was he the right guy?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you've got to consider availability and matchup with another club. So just as we talked to Cincinnati about Bruce last year, we talked about him again this year because he was, quote, available. So that starts the process. There are probably only 4 or 5 possibilities.
Murray drills one into the corner, and he'll pull in at second base with a leadoff double.
Takes a change up here, stays back, rips it into right field. Always want to get those change ups on the outside corner. Don't let over the middle, you're going to get hurt. Particularly with a hitter like Ellsbury, who stayed back nice on that pitch.
This is a tough matchup for Verrett. A lot of left-handed hitters, a lot of guys that can put the ball out of the park, but he's done a nice job so far tonight. With respect to Bruce, as I said, first of all, it's about availability, and secondly, it's about matching up with a club. As far as prospects or other players are concerned, and their interest in our players and evaluation of our players. He's obviously having a good season, and we're looking for somebody to have an impact immediately. This is about the next 2 months, as well as sort of a fourth consideration, the fact that he's under control for another year.
Hey, Sandy, I know you and Walt Jockey have known each other for a long, long time. Does that make it easier when you're talking deals with a team that you have a relationship with the president there?
I think it can make a difference, yeah, and I think it can make it a little bit easier. For example, today in this situation, we had a couple of twists in the road based on some medical issues that came up. So really, in a couple of respects, the deal was completely renegotiated, over the course of a couple hours in the afternoon. And when you're looking at a deadline, sometimes that's easier to do with someone with whom you're familiar and have a little bit of mutual experience and even trust.
How do you envision the center field situation? Now, Ruggiano was going to be your center fielder against left-handers, and now we don't know the extent of his injury, but it seems like we have a lot of corner outfielders. And how do you envision center field?
Yes, center field is tough, given the fact that the offense has been so anemic, and we've, in this case, as well as in a couple of others, for example, putting Conforto in center field, sacrificed a little bit defensively, at least in the traditional sense, for the opportunity to get more offensive punch in the lineup. And that's been kind of a problem we've had, not just this year, but in the past couple of years, where we've had to make a couple of compromises in order to try and juice up the offense a little bit. So, I would expect that center field is going to be a default position for a couple of guys, depending, for example, on Cespedes, 1, his availability, and 2, his desire to stay in left field. I think Bruce is pretty much a right fielder. He's got a decent right field arm, and we think his defensive ability is a little bit better than the metrics would suggest. But there's no question that we're going to have to mix and match in center field and probably give up a little bit defensively.
Now, you made the point during your press conference, and it's an important one, that Bruce is under control for next year. He has an option on his contract, and that protects you in part in case Cespedes opts out after this year. But what about Cespedes right now? He's been in and out of the lineup for weeks now. Hasn't played now for the last couple of days. I know you have 5 DH games coming up, and Terry intimated that he'd like to get him back in center field if he could. But what's your level of concern right now with Cespedes?
Well, I think as time has gone on, the level of concern has gone up, and that's because the leg simply hasn't gotten better. Now, it may be no worse, it may be about the same. I don't know the answer to that. Only he does. But I think if it were not for the 5 games coming up against the American League in their ballpark that we will be able to DH him, that we would have seriously considered putting him on the disabled list, because we can't live with anybody really in the lineup for a day, out for a day, unavailable to pinch hit, those kinds of things, which unfortunately relate to his leg injury.
Sandy Cespedes, middle of the bat lineup, same with Bruce. Are you hoping that you get the same kind of revitalization of the lineup with just one player?
That's the hope. I think that as I said earlier, you hope that sticking somebody in the middle of that lineup will be a catalyst for everyone else, particularly somebody who's been a run producer at a time when we haven't been good at generating runs. And the other concern was that Cespedes, being our significant offensive piece, to the extent that we didn't have somebody protecting him, he would begin to see less and less pitching. So for that reason too, I think that Bruce is an important acquisition for us.
I know everybody's talking about the acquisitions you've made. I'd like to know what's your assessment with the starting 5, the 4 youngsters, how they performed this year, and also where are we in regards to Wheeler?
Well, as far as the 4 are concerned, obviously we had very high expectations, both we as an organization and fans as well as the media. As a group, I think that they've performed well, maybe not up to the expectations that people had, simply because those had gotten almost mythical in proportion. The thing that's interesting is that we're getting performance from different sources. Matt's out and did not pitch as well as he would have liked, probably because of the injury that he had corrected. But Syndergaard has stepped up. Matz has really toughed it out, and DeGrom's been very steady. So those 3 guys have been very solid for us, and also obviously Bartola has done more than we could have imagined. So those have all been roughly, in a general sense, met expectations. And if you look at us being, I don't know where we are now, I haven't looked recently, but probably 2 or 3 in earned run average in all of baseball. It's hard to argue with that, in spite of the other expectations that we've had. So I think all in all, that hasn't been our problem. Our problem has been supporting that pitching. The bullpen's been good, at least the top half of the bullpen, guys in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning. We had hoped to find somebody in the market that would help us in the 6th or 7th when we're behind, maybe help keep us a little closer. That hasn't happened yet, but we might find somebody on waivers or after the waiver deadline. And Wheeler, we're hopeful now that he's on the right track. He threw a sim game, I believe, today or yesterday, and is going to pitch in a game on Saturday. So hopefully he's where he needs to be.
McCann lofts one out to right. Ellsbury tagging at second. He'll go to third. That's the first out of the inning. You didn't get maybe the bullpen piece you wanted, but you did swap a couple, and it's fascinating, of course, bringing John Neese back for Antonio Bastardo. What were the thoughts behind that move? Do you think that John is an upgrade in the bullpen, or was this made because in case you need a starter now it gives you an option?
I think both, frankly. I think that he might be an upgrade in the bullpen for the time being. Certainly somebody who can pitch multiple innings, which we didn't really have once Robles kind of graduated into a more significant piece. And at the same time, he does give us some protection in the rotation if we decide to change someone out or if we have an injury. Tonight, for example, with Verrett going this lineup, a heavily left-handed lineup, maybe with somebody like Neese in the bullpen, you go through the lineup twice and turn it over to somebody else who matches up with the starting lineup, and he takes you a couple, 2 or 3 more innings. So I think Jonathan can be a useful part of the bullpen, and as I said, if necessary, could spot start.
Sandy, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I think most fans thought that Dilson Herrera would play a part in the future of this ball club, but you have to give up a player to get a good one.
Trying to score is Ellsbury, and he slides in safely as Verrett gets upended, and the Yankees tie the game. The ball didn't get very far behind d'Arnaud, but Ellsbury aggressively making a break for the plate and comes in with a tying run.
Well, this is going to be a wild pitch, and d'Arnaud with the backhand did not get in there and block the ball, and just heads up base running by Ellsbury.
Well, Verrett could have gotten hurt there.
There's a lot of tumbling going on there.
Shara moved to second on the play. 1-1 to Gregorius with 1 out.
Sorry, I think I was asking about Dilson Herrera when that play started. I apologize.
Yeah, so no, Dilson was up here a couple of years ago and performed well, still very young, and has done a nice job at Vegas. And had we not picked up Neil Walker in the offseason, probably would have had a real strong shot at starting at second base. I think a couple of things that first of all, you got to give up something to get something.
Conforto over, and that's the second out.
And we did that. Secondly, our middle infield situation is actually looking pretty good right now. We've got obviously Jose Reyes was re-signed. Probably one of our top prospects, if not our top prospect. Rosario at Double-A is getting closer. Gavin Cecchini has had a very nice season at Las Vegas. And probably the other thing that Dilson's going to probably be a very good player. Probably limited to second base, at least in our judgment. And so as the other players may offer a little more versatility, that also made a difference. But look, Cincinnati evaluates our players. They decide who they like and don't like, and if we're going to make a deal, we've got to at some point accede to at least some of their demands, and that's the way it goes.
The one guy you did not mention as potentially part of the second base future is the guy who's there now. Neil Walker's free agent at the end of the year, having a really nice season.
Sure.
Do you see a scenario where he could be back?
Oh, sure. I never eliminate any possible scenario. No, he's done a very nice job for us, and the assumption I think by most was, well, he's in his free agent year, etc. But as demonstrated by Cespedes last year, you never know exactly how these things are going to turn out.
Off the plate to Castro at 2-1. Just before we let you go, we have you up here occasionally to comment and watch, but what do you normally do during games? Are you watching? Are you hiding? I know we read Moneyball. Billy Beane likes to hide. What do you do during games?
I do a lot of different things. sometimes I'll sit in my office and watch the game from my window with the TV on so that I can, see the game real time, and then also with the replays and so forth. Sometimes I'm in the box. Sometimes I'm walking around. Occasionally I'll jump in my car and drive around. I don't want to watch the 8th inning. I don't want to watch the 9th inning. I get on Junction Boulevard or Astoria. I do a lot of different things. And, I don't know, when I'm doing this as long as I've been doing it, you develop a certain number of rituals, even idiosyncrasies, and it's hard to get away from them. I can remember when Dennis Eckersley was closing games, and he was closing games like Familia, 52 out of 52, and I'd walk around the Oakland Arena or do something else just to keep my mind off it.
Sandy, thanks so much for spending some time with us. I know this has been an incredibly busy time for you, and congratulations on making the Bruce trade. It's going to be fun to watch it.
Al, thanks very much for having me. Okay, guys, thanks.
All right, Sandy Alderson, Mets general manager, joining us. Yankees tied up 1-1 in the 4th. Wilmer Flores leading off the home 4th inning in a 1-1 game. Wilmer accounted for the Mets run with his 11th home run of the year, leading off in the 2nd against CC Sabathia. Backdoor slider for a strike. 0-2. Travis d'Arnaud on deck, then James Loney for the Mets in the 4th. Yankees tying the game on a wild pitch in the top of the inning. The 4th inning is brought to you by the 2017 Audi A4 and your tri-state Audi dealers. Two from Sabathia, and the breaking ball hit out to right field. Refsnyder moving back. 1 out. Well, time for your Toyota tweets of the game. We asked you, wait a second, why does Ronnie always give up his seat for the guest in the booth? Does Keith even offer? Well, that was unexpected. Keith, do you have anything to say about that?
I'm the oldest guy in the booth here. I love, yes, I got to go to the children's table. Very nice. That's hilarious.
Well, that was different. That's very nice. Travis d'Arnaud takes a strike. I didn't know that people noticed, Ronnie.
Well, they noticed. Did you see that shot?
Well, they could just put a 4th regular chair in here, and
well, we gotta have most of the booth taken up by Dave Freed. He's got to have his little corner there. So,
but Dave is he's essential.
How did it work out when they designed this booth that the statistician got the best seat?
I know, right?
I don't understand.
Gary would be nothing without Dave.
That's almost not true. We could just say that, Keith had some back issues late in his career that might prevent him from sitting in that kind of chair.
That's very interesting you brought that up. My back is a little bit sore tonight. I fell asleep on the couch.
So it's because you've been carrying a...
Last night I fell asleep on the couch, but it was like in a bad, awkward position. I woke up at 3 in the morning. Oh, gosh. I'm still stiff today, my lower back. So thank you, Ronnie. That'll make him happy, the tweet.
2-2 to d'Arnaud. Maybe I'm being naive. I'm just stunned that people even notice that kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah. I know you notice it because you're the one who has to move.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty funny that and then I'm very comfortable on a bar stool, obviously. So.
Well, I'm glad we're calling it the bar stool now, because previously we called it the high chair.
was interesting to have Sandy talk about the things he does during the game. That was a great question you asked him, because you know, you think of GMs and sitting in their suits and kind of looking at the computer or whatever. They live and die, a lot of them, with these games.
Garneau hits one up the middle, and that's a base hit. Travis with the Mets' third hit of the night, a one-out single. Well, the reason I asked that was because in Moneyball, you know, Billy Beane's down in the weight room and just can't possibly watch the game, and you know, they used to work together. I was wondering what his approach was.
Well, I was with Oakland when Billy was just starting there in the front office, and he would routinely ride the bike for an hour while the game was on.
There's James Loney, who grounded out to second base his first time up. Loney's got more career at bats than anybody in the Mets lineup tonight against CC Sabathia. 5 for 24 from their time facing each other in the American League East.
Billy Beane, the #1 pick for the Mets, was one of my real good friends when I first came over here, and his roommate in spring training every year was Lenny Dykstra.
Wow, that must be some pair.
Right?
I can't even picture the two of them together.
That's why I mentioned it.
By the way, Billy made another one of those deadline deals today. He took his best assets, and he got back 3 terrific prospects. Josh Reddick and Rich Hill going to the Dodgers for 3 minor league pitchers. And so it goes.
Yes, it does.
Off the plate to Loney, and now Sabathia behind 3-1. There's your Cadillac drive around the majors. Well, the Dodgers made that trade, and the Giants picked up lefty Matt Moore in exchange for Matt Duffy, who was nearly the Rookie of the Year last year. So that's a kind of a gamble on the Giants' part. And they got Will Smith, who's, you know, a quality lefty who's not having a great year.
Well, it seems like Bruce Bochy always seems to get the best out of left-handers that are in that bullpen for the Giants.
I mean, the Javi Lopez's and the Jeremy Affelts, those guys. Well, the Giants had to get a starter because, you know, once you get past Cueto and Bumgarner in that rotation, it's awfully iffy as they try to hang on to first place in that division. And Matt Moore certainly gives them a talented young left-hander. 3-2, and Loney pops it up into shallow center. On comes Ellsbury to get it. Garneau back to first, 2 out. Now Matt Reynolds. Reynolds doubled down the left field line his first time up. We missed it earlier. The Mets have not yet placed Asdrubal Cabrera on the disabled list, but they almost certainly will tomorrow with an injury to his left knee. Reynolds replaced Antonio Bastardo on the active roster. Every team in the majors has a lot of people coming and going today. Normally the trading deadline is on July 31st. They moved it back to the 1st this year because they didn't want everybody to be playing while the trading deadline was going on, as would be the case on a Sunday afternoon. But what happens is that there are so many trades made in the couple of hours before games are played that you've got rosters that are a little bit skewed for a day or two after all the shuffling around. The Yankees have their AAA team close enough that they can get players here quickly. So with Beltran and Nova exiting, they were able to bring up 2 players, Nick Goody and Ben Gamel, to replace them on the roster, and they're here. Reynolds was coming anyway because Cabrera got hurt yesterday. But the Mets will have to make some moves tomorrow when Bruce and Neese arrive. Hit to the second baseman. Castro takes it to the bag, and that retires the side. A hit and one left. We've played 4 at Citi Field. Mets and Yankees tied at 1.